Greetings, groovy people! Welcome to the channel. This is Blue Dragon Art, and I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. And this week we're having a quick vid because it's hot. We're having a heat wave. I've also got a ton of work left to do with the Comic Theory zine, Psychedelica. That's going to be coming out on July 15th, although I may be having a special Friday night video on the 14th doing a tour of it to kind of kick the project off. I'm also really busy with the Summer in Aradia zine that I'm working on. More on that at the end of the video. And Time Warp starts posting Friday. Time Warp, Dark Horse, my free not safe for work post-apocalyptic magical girl fantasy comic. I'm working on Time Warp, which, I have not had any time to work on it at all, so I'm trying to get pages done today and tomorrow so that I can get early access out for my patrons and my Subscribe-Star members. I don't have any over there right now, but I like to still post it because you never know when someone's going to pop up. So I've got to get my butt back in gear working on Dark Horse. Just kind of a slight, very light spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about a couple different chapters that are like a little bit of Chapter 6, Act 6 I should say, The Uninvited, and I'm talking about Time Warp and Ceremony, and these are kind of later chapters, so if you haven't been reading Dark Horse, there's a little bit of a spoiler, but really nothing that big of a deal. I kind of move slow. It's a very slow moving story, but we're getting to the future. We're going to be getting to the future, so it's going to pick up a little bit, I think, as if I don't know. Anyway, some of you know that I've been reworking old pages. Anyone who's new, hey, hi, I'm working on old pages. Sorry. Welcome. This is how weird I am. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, Time Warp is actually the final chapter that I need to redraw before I gotta start working on new material, which is fan-fucking-tastic because I want to get the story done before I die, and there's a lot to it. The panels that I'm inking in the background is the first page of Time Warp, and will actually be fully colored when I get it posted and everything. I like to color the beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter. Sometimes I'll have some color pages in the middle, but usually I try to kind of keep it, like the bookend it, a little bit, especially since I do printing, and some printers, although I found recently no one really does this, but it used to be they would print the color pages off first on their own pages, which when they fold in half, you'd have the color on the outside. If you ever take a book apart or a comic book apart, you'll see what I mean. That the front and back, it kind of works backwards from the back and then forward, whatever. Anyway, I sound really confusing. At any rate, I like to have the chapters bookended with a little bit of color. It also makes things a little bit more special, I think, because I primarily work in black and white, and then you can kind of see, I get to play with color a little bit, or you get to see what the characters actually look like, what their eye color, hair color, whatever, complexion, all that jazz is. So, I am going to be fully coloring this, and it's going to be posting on my main website on Friday, and then it'll be on my mirrors later on. But yeah, I actually liked some of the original panels in the version that I posted over on Comic Theory, which I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. The bottom panels, namely, are the ones that I was pretty happy with. There's a few things that I needed to fix up, but I was pretty much able to copy that just about the same as the original. But I felt the top part of this page was just so bland, and the color is boring. It's not interesting at all, in my opinion. And also, I feel like starting the chapter that way felt a little disjointed when I went back to reread things, because I had to reread Ceremony and then start rereading Time Warp. And it just felt like, the end of Ceremony, which I will show you here, it was so much more epic than what's going on here, and I feel like it was just kind of, maybe, I am trying to do a bit of a tone shift because the previous chapters have been a little bit more heavy, which I'll talk about in a minute, but when I came at this redraw, I wanted the two chapters to flow into each other a little bit better, and so without having a full-on recap, I kind of was relying on a different version of what the end of Ceremony looked like, just kind of moving that into the first part of Time Warp in the first panel, and then being able to kind of move the story along from there. Something else that I really wanted to do in this chapter, which I have actually done it in the current version of Time Warp, but with this first panel, I'm throwing back, or I'm hearkening back to a much earlier chapter where we see Shimiko, the character who's in the top panel. When we're first introduced to her before knowing who she is, it's essentially when she's like, you know, out in whatever intradimensional space she's hanging out and watching shit. Weird shit, you know, whatever she's doing out there. And I kind of like have her hair very much inspired by like how Clamp does stuff, because this specific character was very much influenced by Rig Veda and the character Ashura, although she is obviously very different than that character. It's just kind of, I wanted to have a character that had that kind of cool hair. And so when we first see her, that's kind of like what she looks like originally before she introduces herself to the character. So this chapter is where she's getting comfortable enough with them to start dropping the glamour that presents her as like this harmless, innocent little 12-year-old human. And we are supposed to start realizing that she's actually hiding who she truly is and what she truly looks like. But she's just now starting to really let her guard down around these people. Even though she hasn't known them for very long, she realizes that they're going to agree to help out with what's going on in the present day. And so that's something that I kind of wanted to start the chapter off with, is that reveal of her beginning to drop the glamour that's on her. Because she is technically one of the Fae. I don't want to say what she is just yet, because that is a very big spoiler for the end of the series, and also leading us into later in the series when I start like Seishin and some of the other ones. But yeah, that last chapter was also a little bit more serious, introducing some heavier subject matter like Kanna's home life and her deceased brother, as well as, you know, Odysseus kind of being melancholy, seeing these three friends getting along and joking with each other and, you know, having a good time, and realizing that Kanna, Rina, and Mia are not going to be, just their future kind of sucks, you know? So I wanted to I had a lot of these like heavier insinuations in ceremony. Kanna's entire bodily autonomy is just taken over by the demon. Rina's missing in action. Mia, it's been already stated in an earlier chapter that she's just out of the picture now. We will find out why and what happened with her later, but none of them know that, and I was just kind of starting to drop those hints in the last chapter. But in this one, I really wanted to kind of lighten the mood a bit, because they're starting to look forward. They're starting to actually try to get their shit together a little bit to handle the task at hand. And so I wanted to really show the characters starting to interact with each other and getting to know each other, and have a little bit of kind of short comedic beats like the second panel. I kept that idea from the original where there's just like an actual lack of a climax. Shimiko had this huge pep talk with all this beautiful glittery spaceship behind her in the last chapter, and in this scene we're seeing that she's really just standing there with her hair all splayed out and shit, and they're just kind of like, is that it? What's next? So I kind of wanted to have a little bit of fun with the characters and show them actually interacting with each other and getting to know each other. And also it's kind of setting up like a bit how immature Kanna and Rina are, because they are still teenagers. They're pretty young. And so we're going to have Odysseus kind of trying to keep everyone on task, but you know, it's like herding cats. It really is like herding cats. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about this page. That's just some of the thoughts that were going on in my mind when I re-thumbnailed it out. I had a chance to reflect on what had been written, and I was able to kind of, I think, improve a little bit of the story beats, because that first panel, it was just so boring. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about this page. Next week, I'm going to be talking about Summer in Aradia. It's a free zine that the Aradia Collective is working on. It's just going to have works from the collective members this time. It's not like Aradia Beat, in which case we had invited other artists as well as collective members to be a part of that. Since that was like a paid project, This one is just for the collective members who want to have fun and do a summer themed zine. And it's going to be free for the public. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that next week. And of course, I will be, doing a tour and stuff once the zine is released, so you can take a look at what it's got to offer, and you can download your own copy if you want. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I may have a Friday night video also on the 14th to kind of reveal the Comic Fury zine, Psychedelica. And we'll see if I have time. I'm going to try to do that. The tours aren't, very time consuming. I hope anyone who celebrated Independence Day yesterday had a good time and kept safe. Until next week, peace and love, fare you well, and keep on trucking.